Dybantsa and Darryn Peterson are being called the future of the NBA, and it's easy to see why. They went first and second in the 2026 draft, dominated every level of basketball before that, and now they're on a collision course to become the league's next great rivalry. Let me break it down. The timeline. Both players were born in January 2007, 12 days apart. Darryn Wayne Peterson was born on January 17 in Canton, Ohio. Anisette Francois Dybantsa Jr. was born on January 29 in Boston and raised in Brockton, Massachusetts. Dybantsa played his freshman year at St. Sebastian's School. He averaged 19.1 points, 9.6 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 2.5 blocks per game. He was named Massachusetts Gatorade Player of the Year. His team reached the NEPSAC Class A championship game. Peterson played his freshman year at Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy. He averaged 26.1 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game through a foot injury and earned All-Ohio honors. As a sophomore, he averaged 31 points and 9.8 rebounds. Dybantsa transferred to Prolific Prep in Napa, California in July 2023. He led the Nike Peach Jam in scoring at 25.8 points per game. He reclassified into the 2025 class and finished high school at Utah Prep Academy. Peterson transferred to Huntington Prep in West Virginia, then to Prolific Prep, the program Dybantsa had already left. As a senior, he averaged 30.4 points, 7.2 rebounds, 7.4 assists, and 2.2 steals on 52% from the field and 86% from the line. He was named McDonald's All-American Co-MVP and Naismith Prep Player of the Year. 247 Sports ranked him #1 overall. Dybantsa was the consensus #1 recruit across ESPN and 247 Sports. He committed to BYU and became the highest-ranked recruit in program history. Peterson committed to Kansas and to Bill Self. Then came the 2025-26 college season. Dybantsa started all 35 games for BYU. He averaged 25.5 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.1 steals in 34.8 minutes per game, on 51% from the field, 33.1% from three, and 77.4% from the line. He led the NCAA in scoring. He scored 43 against Utah. He finished with 894 points, the third most by a freshman in Division I history. He scored 20 or more in 28 games and 30 or more in 8. He won Big 12 Freshman of the Year, the Julius Erving Award, and consensus first-team All-American honors. The summer before, he won gold and tournament MVP at the FIBA 19 World Cup with Team USA. Peterson started 23 of 24 games for Kansas. Hamstring problems, an ankle problem, cramping, and illness cost him 11 games. He still averaged 20.2 points, 4.2 rebounds, 1.6 assists, and 1.4 steals on 43.8% from the field, 38.2% from three, and 82.6% from the line. That scoring average is a Kansas freshman record. It passed Andrew Wiggins. He scored 20 or more in 12 games, with a high of 32. He was named second-team All-Big 12, Big 12 All-Freshman, and AP Honorable Mention All-American. He scored 28 points in his NCAA tournament debut. They met on January 31 at Allen Fieldhouse. Peterson played half the game. Kansas won 5 months later. The Washington Wizards were on the clock.
With the first pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Washington Wizards select Dybantsa Jr. from Brockton, Massachusetts.
Washington took Dybantsa #1. He signed a 4-year rookie contract worth approximately $66.91 million. Utah took Peterson #2.
The debates, it's over.
It was not over. 2 weeks later, both rookies were in Summer League. Peterson opened in Salt Lake City. He scored 28 points in one game. In another, he posted 25 points and 12 assists. Then Washington played Utah in Las Vegas. Anthony Davis was in the building. So were Trae Young and Chris Middleton. Dybantsa scored 27 points with 7 rebounds. Peterson scored 24 with 8 turnovers. Washington won 92-88.
Dybantsa finishes with 27 and a win for Washington in his Summer League debut.
That is the record. 2 players born in the same month who moved through the same prep program, arrived in the same draft, and were separated by 1 pick. The rest of this video explains how each piece of it was built. The prep circuit that made them, the college seasons that split them, the draft process that ranked them, and the summer league night that put them on one floor as professionals. The prep machine that built them. Long before Brockton had a lottery pick, it had a kid who was already too big for the gym he was standing in. Dybantsa arrived at St. Sebastian's as a freshman and looked misplaced, a teenager operating at a size and speed the New England prep circuit had no answer for. 19 points, 9.5 rebounds, 2.5 blocks, a senior stat line produced by someone who could not yet drive a car. Massachusetts handed him Gatorade Player of the year. The people paid to notice these things had already noticed.
I've been watching AJ for a very long time at the grassroots level, and obviously this year at BYU.
That is the Wizards front office describing a relationship that predates the draft by half a decade. Grassroots basketball is where the real evaluation happens in half-empty gyms in July. And by the time Dybantsa was 15, the scouting community had already put its stake in the ground.
His athleticism and just the way he competes stands out.
Athleticism and competitiveness are the two traits every scout claims to prize and almost nobody can teach. Dybantsa had both before he had a jump shot, which is why the paperwork on him goes back further than most people realize.
I went back and read my first ever scouting report on AJ. Either 3 or 4 years ago.
3 or 4 years ago, Dybantsa was a sophomore. The report that Scout dug out of the archive was written about a child, and the first line of it was not about the 7-foot wingspan or the vertical leap.
First thing that I wrote on top is a competitor who played the right way.
He left Massachusetts for Napa, California, and Prolific Prep, the traveling all-star program that has become the country's most reliable pipeline from suburban obscurity to national television. He shared a locker room with Tyron Stokes. He went to Peach Jam in the summer of 2023 and led the entire event in scoring at 25.8 points per game, which is the basketball equivalent of walking into the most talent-dense room in America and taking the microphone. Then he did something audacious. He reclassified. He erased a year from his own timeline, jumped from 2026 to 2025, finished his high school career at Utah Prep Academy, and dared the sport to keep up. Every blue blood in the country came calling. He picked BYU, and in doing so became the highest-ranked recruit ever to sign with the program, a decision that scrambled the recruiting hierarchy overnight. His physical profile explains the frenzy: 6'9" with a strong frame, a wingspan north of 7 feet, hips and feet that belong to a guard, and a first step that has no business existing on a body that size. Scouts kept reaching for the same word: prototype. Meanwhile, 1,000 miles east, Canton, Ohio was producing a different kind of monster. Darryn Peterson's freshman season at Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy was a 26-point, 10-rebound, 5-assist campaign played on an injured foot. The injury is the detail that matters. He was already the best player in the state while compromised. As a sophomore unencumbered, he averaged 31 points and nearly 10 rebounds, and all Ohio stopped being a debate. He went to Huntington Prep in West Virginia. Then he went to Prolific Prep, the same Napa gym, the same coaching infrastructure, the same national spotlight that Dybantsa had recently vacated. Their careers were now running on parallel rails through the identical station. His senior year was a monument: 30.4 points, 7.2 rebounds, 7.4 assists, 2.2 steals on 52% shooting and 86% from the stripe. A 30-point-per-game scorer who also averaged more than 7 assists is not a scorer. He is an offense. McDonald's All-American co-MVP, Naismith Prep Player of the Year, 247 Sports had him at number 1 overall, ahead of the kid from Brockton. 2 prep phenoms, 1 Napa pipeline. Zero doubt about where this was heading. What nobody could predict was how differently the college year would treat them. 1 season, 2 very different stories. Provo, Utah is not where you go to become the most productive freshman in college basketball. AJ Dybantsa went anyway and then did it. 35 games, 35 starts, 25.5 points per game, which led every player in the country, freshman or otherwise. Add 6.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and a steal a night in nearly 35 minutes of floor time. He shot 51% from the field. He never once failed to reach double figures. 28 games of 20 or more. 8 games of 30 or more. Multiple 40 burgers, including a 43-point demolition of Utah that rewrote the BYU freshman record book. By season's end, he had 894 points, the 3rd highest total any freshman has ever produced in Division I basketball. The 2 men ahead of him are not obscure.
When Chris Jackson and Kevin Durant are the only 2 guys who had a better freshman scoring season in college, you know you can put the ball in the basket.
Chris Jackson and Kevin Durant. That is the entire list standing between Dybantsa and the greatest freshman scoring season the sport has ever produced. He won the Julius Erving Award as the nation's premier small forward, Big 12 Freshman of the Year, and consensus first-team All-American, an honor that puts a 19-year-old on the same podium as 4th-year veterans. What the box score undersells is the shape of his usage. BYU did not run Dybantsa off screens and hope, they handed him the offense. He operated as a point forward, initiating out-of-ball screens, punishing switches, rebounding his own misses, and defending across 4 positions. And that was after he had already spent the summer winning FIBA U19 World Cup gold and tournament MVP with Team USA, a resume line that quietly signals a player who dominates against international size, not just American teenagers. 900 miles east, Darryn Peterson's freshman year was a running argument with his own body, a hamstring, an ankle, cramping, illness. 11 missed games out of a possible 35, nearly a third of the season spent in street clothes while Kansas tried to construct an offense around a player who kept disappearing. And here's the part that scouts could not reconcile. When he played, he was electric, 20 and 2 points per game, a Kansas freshman record. He passed Andrew Wiggins, a player who left Lawrence as a #1 overall pick. He shot 38.2% from 3 and 82.6% from the line, the shooting indicators that translate most cleanly to professional basketball. 12 games of 20 plus, a high of 32, second-team All-Big, 12 Big 12 All-Freshman, and AP Honorable Mention All-American. Then, when March arrived and the availability questions were loudest, he opened his NCAA tournament career with 28 points. Everything he did was a rebuttal, and still the doubt persisted because durability is a skill, and he had not yet proven he possessed it. Then on January 31 in Allen Fieldhouse, the two of them finally shared a floor. Peterson played roughly half the game and looked like the best player in the building. Kansas won for a large portion of the basketball internet. The argument ended there. But watch the tape twice, as one analyst did, and the picture complicates. That is context, not excuse.
One, Darryn's Kansas team was considerably better in terms of talent than AJ's BYU team.
Kansas surrounded Peterson with a roster. BYU surrounded Dybantsa with a rebuild. Kansas also threw the kitchen sink at Dybantsa, denying him the ball so aggressively that he checked out of his first shift without registering a shot attempt. BYU, meanwhile, made the inexplicable decision to assign Dybantsa, a 6'9" forward, to chase Peterson, a movement shooter around the perimeter. He got cooked, and the tape shows exactly why.
AJ got exposed in that particular game and throughout the season in various respects for being an undisciplined defender.
The specifics are almost forensic. Dybantsa overplayed the jumper on the left wing with an open stance and his right foot forward, and Peterson simply ripped through and finished with the opposite hand. On a baseline flare, Dybantsa ran toward the screen instead of trailing it, and Peterson relocated to a wide-open corner. On another possession, a defender slipped a fake screen, Dybantsa quit for a half second, and Peterson turned the corner and dunked on the entire roster. None of this was a talent problem, it was a technique problem.
The natural ability he has defensively is off the charts.
The raw material was never in question. The length, the recovery speed, the footwork that lets him beat guards to spots and contest shots that should have been open. What was missing was the coaching clipboard stuff.
He just struggles with the technical aspects of defense. Off ball, when to help, when to stay home. The timing of that sort of thing.
Peterson, by contrast, played defense like someone who had read the manual and memorized it.
Darryn Peterson, as a counterexample, very technically sound, polished defender.
One player produced historic numbers with sloppy fundamentals. The other produced elite fundamentals in an incomplete season. That contradiction is precisely what the 2026 draft had to resolve. The debate that refused to die. For months, the top of the 2026 draft was a two-man argument, and the argument was not really about who was better. It was about when.
Now, to be clear up front, I do think Darryn Peterson will be a better NBA player than AJ Dybantsa on day one.
That is not a heretical opinion. It was widely held among people who watch tape for a living, and it comes with an immediate load-bearing caveat.
That is a very different conversation than who I would take number one.
Two questions, one draft slot, who helps you win a game in November, and who helps you win a title in 2031? Peterson's case for the first question is arithmetic, not vibes.
Like, for starters, Darryn Peterson was a downright lethal spot-up player, like off-the-charts lethal.
Off the charts is usually a figure of speech. Here it is a measurement.
He converted 57 spot-up opportunities last year at 1.53 points per possession.
For scale, 2,040 Division I players logged at least 50 spot-up possessions last season, fourth out of 2,000.
His efficiency ranked fourth out of over 2,000.
A rookie who can stand in the corner and convert at that rate is useful on any roster in the league on his first night, before he learns a single play. Dybantsa's corresponding number was 31% on spot-up threes, at less than a point per possession, which is why the day one gap exists.
He shot just 31% on spot-up threes.
Executives felt the same tension. One Eastern Conference scout gave Peterson the higher floor outright, projecting Clay-level shooting outcomes. Others whispered about the injuries, the conditioning, and in the harshest confidential evaluations, occasional diva-ness. A few reached for Andrew Wiggins comparisons, which in scout dialect is a coded question about competitive fire, and yet ceilings are what franchises actually buy.
But to be very clear, I feel strongly that AJ Dybantsa has the better long-term future in this league.
The reasoning is structural. Peterson's separation problem, his struggle to shake athletic perimeter defenders, and his tendency to settle for contested mid-range pull-ups puts a lid on how high the offense he runs can climb.
Darryn has a pretty firm ceiling, in my opinion.
Firm, but not low. The comparison offered is a 5-time All-Star and a finals participant.
Like, I would say that the absolute ceiling for Darryn Peterson would be a guy like Devin Booker.
Devin Booker is a phenomenal outcome for a number 2 pick. It is also notably not a franchise-altering one. Dybantsa's projection lives in a different tier entirely.
To me, a guy like AJ Dybantsa has the potential to be an MVP-level shot creator in the NBA.
The evidence for that is his relationship with the rim. Among wiry big forwards, excluding the Giannis and Zion power archetypes, nobody had ever done this. He plays low in his stance.
I've never actually seen a player of Dybantsa's build be this successful getting to the basket.
Gathers off 2 feet, absorbs contact, draws fouls, and refuses to settle. And when the paint closes, he simply rises over it.
He was over 53% on mid-range jump shots inside of 17 feet this year.
53% from the mid-range. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander operates in the high 50s. That is the neighborhood a teenager was living in.
In other words, I think he absolutely has the potential to be the best player on a championship team.
Washington's front office arrived at the same place, through a very different door. They flew him in. They watched him walk through their building in a suit and tie. They asked him how many interviews he had done. The answer was 10, and they concluded that the person and the player pointed the same direction.
He looks the part of a star. He looks the part of a number 1 pick.
$66.9 million over 4 years. 2 rebuilds, 1 debate unresolved. And then 3 weeks later, the 2 of them met in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, and what it means for everyone else. Summer League is supposed to be meaningless. Anthony Davis showed up anyway. So did Trae Young, fresh off a June extension, and Chris Middleton. 10-plus Wizards veterans flew to Vegas for a game that decides nothing because everybody understood what was actually being decided. Dybantsa did not require a warm-up period.
AJ Dybantsa showing us a little bit of everything in less than 5 minutes.
Everything meant a reverse layup with the rim as a shield, a driving fall away through contact, and a pass so tight it should not have fit through the window it went through. A read made because he saw Peterson's head down before Peterson did. It also meant contact absorbed on purpose, repeatedly. He was baiting whistles by the 3rd possession. Then came the sequence that emptied the seats. He left his defender behind and went at whatever was waiting under the rim.
He leaves Cody Williams in the rear view, again meeting defenders at the cup. They don't look like they want any part of him.
Peterson answered the only way a scorer knows how, with craft rather than force. A sidestep 3 with the shot clock dying. A runner over a set defense. Then another. That last phrase is the whole scouting report.
A runner swishes through, pretty move. Or whatever the pace of the play is, he can match it.
Peterson does not need the game to slow down for him. He arrives already synchronized.
You can see he's got a determination. He's got a burst that he attacks with.
That's a good sign.
When the 2 finally shared the same possession, the arena remembered why it came.
Against Peterson, that gets the crowd going.
There is a detail here that will follow both of them for a decade. The building did not respond to them equally.
There has not been the same reaction from the crowd when Peterson makes a play.
That is the gravity gap in one sentence, and it existed on a night when Dybantsa's shooting was ugly. 4 for 13. 0 for 4 from 3.
Dybantsa 4 for 13, 0 for 4 from 3, but he's done a great job getting to the line.
That is the blueprint. On a night when the jumper vanished, the free throw line and the paint kept him at 27 points, tying the number 1 pick debut mark. The floor of his bad game is other players' good one. There will be inefficient nights. Dybantsa will have games with more turnovers than assists and no obvious winning statistic to point at. Peterson will have games where the separation never comes. Both will be told loudly that the other one is better right now.
So that's what I mean when I say Darryn is better right now.
That is the operative phrase, and it has an expiration date attached. By year 3 or 4, the reasonable projection is 2 All-Stars. Dybantsa as a 25-plus point wing anchoring an offense, Peterson as a 22-plus point guard bending defenses. Dybantsa, for his part, has already told Washington what he intends to be.
Obviously, Wizards fans have been waiting for a long time, but I want to be a piece of the puzzle that's part of the rebuild.
2 players, 12 days apart, 1 prep program, 1 draft, 1 pick separating them, and a decade of Tuesday nights in front of them. They are not taking over the NBA someday. Summer League was the receipt. Thanks for watching. Check out other cards on the screen.